Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dribbz Talks podcast. We're bringing it to you real, raw and uncut. A safe place where we can talk about anything and everything. So like, share and subscribe. But most importantly, keep it locked. Everything's gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Just take one step at a time. That's what the leaflets say.
This is Mark Archer from Alternate, and you're listening to the Dribbz Talks podcast on Spotify and YouTube.
Yes, people, welcome back to another episode of Dribbz Talks, the podcast where we bring you a fine selection of many different guests and cover many different topics. Now today, this one is a Fringe Lounge Kyle Pugh Part 2 special. Now our last catch up regarding this was with Barry and Tiger, two of the late Kyle Pugh's closest friends. Now for this one, not only do we have Barry Pearce, who's returning again, but he's joined by Kyle's father, Keith Pugh. Now firstly, I'd like to say to the both of you a huge thank you for choosing my platform to share your story. Keith, I'm sure there's going to be times within this podcast that you may feel a little bit emotional, and you are more than welcome at any point, mate, to take a break and let Barry do the talking, because Barry does like the sound of his own voice.
No problem. So
we're good with that, aren't we, Baz? You agree to that, don't you? You agree to that. Keith, now, I know you're here not just representing yourself, but your wife and your other children too, as I'm sure Kyle's passing has sent ripples through your family, and I want to thank you for sitting down with me tonight, firstly. Now, before we get into everything, how have you and your wife been holding up?
We've had a long time, and it's strange. She still has nightmares. She wakes up regularly chasing her, which is difficult because she can't get out of bed. That's the hardest bit, is watching what his mum's gone through. That's the hardest bit of this side of it. The other side, obviously.
Yeah. And what about yourself? How are you getting on?
I'm okay. I've changed. Things do change when you lose a son and when you lose a child. You ask yourself, you doubt yourself, you wonder what you could have done. You're mad about what was done, and you don't know where to go. You know, you're screaming at the world, and the world doesn't know what to say back.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and I'd find myself, for no reason whatsoever, and I deal with it because of this now. I would be watching a story on the telly or reading a story on my phone, and for no reason whatsoever, because I've never been a crier. That's not how I am. I shout when angry. I get things out of me that way, but I would just. So there were tears running down my face for no reason. He got to a stupid point that around about 12 months ago I went to the doctors and they put me on these things, and they work.
Yeah.
It makes you sort of emotionless.
So you say there was tears running down your face for no reason, Keith, but you got to remember there's every reason them tears are running down your face, mate.
Yeah, but it was nothing to do with, it was just something that was sad that I was seeing, or something that caught me I was seeing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think as a dad, and I'm not the greatest dad in the world, and you make too many fuck ups in life.
No one's perfect, mate. Jeez.
But you get to a point where you should have been able to do something, and you never could. Kyle's a classic case of, he's run free. He's all his life he's done what he wanted to do, and I come from an old-fashioned family, whereas you won't do this. I could never be a punk. My old man would have killed me.
Yeah,
I was here in the punk era. They were all around with spiky hair and stupid clothes and all that. If I'd have walked in the house like that, I'd have gone straight out the back door, probably via the bloody window. So I've always allowed all my kids, every one of them, to do what they wanted to do and find their own way in the world.
Yeah.
And Kyle, it astonished me, some of the things that he's done. Tattoos. A number of people who got tattoos off Kyle from a kit, which I never got one.
Are you one of them, Baz?
Yeah, I got one on my left leg.
There you go. Yeah.
And things like that, and his designs and the artwork, and ripping off Disney because doing this because somebody wanted it. But
was it an ice cream van, if I remember rightly?
Yeah. But he learned how to wrap a car. When I saw the car that was wrapped, I was thinking this is going to be shite, but no, it wasn't. There was fleets of cars racing around, wrapped and with stickers on the back, and
Clever.
He just got a way of doing it, and our upstairs bedroom was his office, and until he went and he wanted to go big. I don't think he had the greatest financial business brain, but he had the skill and the talent to do it, and that was. It was like his day. I've seen professional places turn out things that they weren't a patch on what he could do.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe watching him doing it, how he did it. He just
unique.
Steady as hand I've ever known. Just
Jack of all trades, Winnie Coyle. Jack of all trades, bless him. So, guys, for my listeners who may not have caught part one and this podcast and may have no idea who Kyle was and the circumstances around what's brought the two of you to my platform tonight, and I hope you don't mind here, Keith, but I'm going to give them a little overview of Kyle, and these are positive things to start off with. So Kyle was a Telford lad through and through, and before his passing he resided in Newport. Kyle was a beloved son, brother, father and friend, and his family once described him as having so much more to give to this world. Professionally and creativity, he was an entrepreneur. He was the CEO and founder of his own design business, which is what Keith is mentioning there, Design Dudes UK. He was a man of many talents and he could turn his hand to almost anything. Now, aside from the graft that he put into this work, Kyle equally put as much passion into his music and was known widely within the hardcore scene as MC Fringe. Now, Kyle was truly loved by all and he would give the shoes off his feet to help someone out, and he certainly was that type of person, and I for one was lucky enough to feel the benefit of his kindness on a couple of occasions. Kyle was a loving father and doted his life to spending as much precious time with his children. Now I think that section that I've just spoke about is just as important as the section about his demise, Keith, as it gives the guys listening an understanding to the fuller picture of Kyle's life, and it will help the listeners connect with who Kyle was and not just how he died. I know that Kyle will always be so much more than headlines to you when you think of him as your son and as a dad himself and as the man he was. What first comes to mind when you think of him with that like that?
Too much, huh?
There's an image which it's a one photo, and I got this photo on my phone. It's just stored away, and it's me and him Christmas with a cigar side by side, just having a cigar. He's only not a big cigar smoker, and just there, and he was but the things are, Kyle effectively published my first book.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, he set everything up badly. We went back, and he ran around like a lunatic telling people, buy me dad's book, and I've met so many people over the past few years saying, bought the book. It's, if I was to ever become rich and famous, it would be unique because it's all wrong. The lines are, it's one of these, yes, we can tell this is a first edition because all the words are in the wrong place. And then he came back and he sat down there with me and he spent about 3 or 4 hours juggling things around to make the book right. And he taught me, because I'm computer illiterate, I am useless, and he showed me how you get it from the phone to the book to the print, to transfer it from the print to the book to the Amazon, where Elon Musk's flying a bloody rocket off it, because I ain't seeing no sodding money. But he went through that, and when it went wrong, he'd be on the thing, and he'd make me look like a moron with telling me over the phone, turn it, not that one, this one, that one, and that's the Kyle. Yeah, and he was there, and then I'd hear a harebrained scheme he was going to do, and with this harebrained scheme, it'd go. And Vicky had hot tub type thing in the back garden, and she wanted lights for it, and she'd been quoted these, and he's turned up with these at their £5, and she says, nothing more than that. No, it's a £5, that's what I want it. He says, no, I've bought a load of them. And he's bought a mountain of these things for next to nothing, and then he's knocking them out left, right and centre.
Love that.
And, he could just see something and go, they're having hot tubs, they want lights. If I buy the lights, I get the lights cheap, because they're coming from abroad, and I knock them out.
He's the original Del Boy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was the original Del Boy.
Yeah, he really was a Del Boy. He could just look at something and go, I can do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Better.
Yeah.
And then would.
Yeah, and that's what we loved about him, let's face it. Now, before we talk about the events that led up to Kyle's passing, I'd really love to hear about him, Keith. What kind of person was Kyle, as in, what are the things that you remember most about him as a son?
I remember him being in trouble at school all the time, and I decided to catch him. I used to be pretty quick. I couldn't touch him, I couldn't get near him, and he's gone off and he's gone like a lunatic. I built a seesaw in the garden. He turned it into a deadly weapon, because it was a pivoted seesaw, and it was also a roundabout, and he was the one who started off by, you stand there and they play chicken with this roundabout.
Okay.
You start, and he just whack it right, because it was perfectly balanced, and he just, and the number of kids who got lumps on their head through this bloody thing. Or he'd get them in the thing, and he'd get them all the way down and sit them on the thing. Then he'd jump off, and they go like from 12 foot, because this was 6 foot in the middle, and it was very. It looked very small in the factory when I made it, but in the back garden it filled it up. and he just dropped them 12 foot.
There's probably a few people out there that have got a few scars from courtesy of Kyle.
Yeah,
or a few like past trauma or something, bit of PTSD or something, Keith. Yeah. From flying up in the air, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he could see that, and that again was a creative side.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I found a bit of box, and I thought, I bet I can build something out of that, and then I built this thing around it. Oh, that'd be nice for the kids. What's it? And I threw it back in the skip in the end, and I've got all the grandkids and it's like a bit of a legend.
Yeah.
But it's not a legend because it was built, it's a legend because of what Kyle did with the bloody
Adapted
thing.
to the thing, yeah. What kind of kid was Kyle growing up?
Wild.
Nothing changed then, really, did it?
No, free spirit. He'd see something and I'll do it. And fearless. But he also had a side which he cared about people, and that was, there was an old guy who lived down by him, and he'd seen him struggling with this frame thing or whatever it was, and the wheel was knackered, so Carl was going to sit him down, had a chat, fix this thing, and they thought, well, you stay there, and he'd go and get his shopping.
Of course he did.
Sort of thing. I don't know whether it was a trolley thing or what have you, but he'd do that, and he's not getting anything out of it, he's just doing it because he could do it. And that's a sign of real people.
Definitely. Now, these next details then, Keith, as much as this podcast is about celebrating all things Kyle, it's also to give my listeners an insight into Kyle's life from a child to his passing. So these next details of Kyle's demise, I'll try to explain as accurately as I can, Keith, and I'll try to deliver with the utmost respect for Kyle and your family, but please correct me if anything is wrong here, right? So, for my listeners that may not be aware, the critical incident happened on the evening of the 22nd of March at home in Aston Drive, Newport, Telford. At the time, Kyle was separated from his wife and he had been visiting the family home to see his children. An altercation ended up escalating and Kyle suffered serious injuries, and according to the post-mortem, he had compression injuries to his neck, suggesting strangulation or a chokehold. fractures to his eye socket and nose, and other trauma. Now, he was taken to the Princess Royal Hospital in Telford, and he died the following day on the 23rd of March 2022. No, I'll never forget that, Keith, because that is my birthday, the 23rd of March. Yeah, but I'll never forget that one.
It was my mother's birthday as well.
Really? There you go. All the best people were born then, Keith. During the investigation and trial, the prosecution argued that the scene was staged, and his wife at the time, Amy Pugh, misled emergency services by claiming Kyle had hung himself to conceal the true cause of his death. Keith, can you tell me how you first felt when you heard the news about your son Kyle's passing? Like, what went through your mind at that very moment, mate? Please take your time as well.
It started off with a phone call on the night. On the night, my son Stuart phoned me and said, Kyle's hurt himself. He's at the hospital. We got to go down. You better come down. So I went down. And I didn't know how bad it was initially. I didn't have a clue. Kyle, I never saw Kyle in the hospital at that time because he was being sorted out at that time. Vicky was there, his big sister, and Stuart, and Amy was there. And she was like hyper and all over the place, and I was mad. I didn't know what had happened, how it had pushed, how it had got to where it was, and I actually had no reason to doubt, nor did Stuart, nor did Vicky, that it was anything other than what she'd said.
Of course not.
And she'd said this so many times. And I remember distinctly looking across the room, excuse my language, I said, "What?
Anything goes on here.
What the fucking hell have you done? What the fucking hell can you just sort yourselves fucking out?" And that was in my head, and I walked out. I couldn't sit in there in the same room in the hospital part ward. I walked across the car park. Amy jumped up and said, "I'll go and sort him." Vicky grabbed hold of her and said, "Just fucking leave it." And Stu came out, one thing. But I still didn't know how serious it was. The next morning, we still didn't know how serious it was. I was doing a school run, and I thought I'll go down later, he'll be all right. And it wasn't until we actually had the trial that I heard the bits that tore my world apart. And that was towards the end of the trial, in the summing up, when I was told I wasn't allowed in the court initially because I was down as a witness. And I mean, well, Barry will tell you, you have to be separate and you can't hear anything anybody said before. It's a bit of a circus, the trial, to be honest. But they're the rules. That's how that is. It's something which really wants. If you want real justice, you've got to treat people like real people.
Absolutely.
And it's a theatre. It's staged. I sat through a trial and listened to it. Anyhow, that's by the by. All I knew was he'd been hurt. At the time, the thoughts running through my head weren't somebody's done this to him. They were, what the fuck's happened? Why's this happened? Why? What's led up to this? What? Because I knew Kyle, and Kyle, with his love life with Amy, it was dangerous, but he'd always end up back with her. Always, you know. In all honesty, when she set fire to the garage and destroyed everything, that pushed him over the edge. That he'd had enough, and then she allowed him to be accused of doing it. You know, she even went to court. When she finally went to court for that, before she pleaded guilty, she was still trying to get his words redacted.
Wow.
You know, that was unbelievable. You know, and fair play to that judge. That judge sat there and says, "I'm not having these words redacted because they're exactly the same as what everybody else is saying. But it never went to a trial, and she changed her plea, and she had a nasty slap on the wrist and told she couldn't go out to play for 6 weeks. Fortunately, during the third of those 6 weeks, the police came along and said, "You're not going to play anymore," and fucked her off. But that was the bit. But you know, when it came to the trial itself, I didn't hear what Ella said at the start. I didn't hear that. But when I heard, I've just got 2 words or 3 words which is stuck in my head, and these are the bit that drive me mental. And they were, "Amy, help me." And instead what she did, because he did die the next day. He was dead when the ambulance got there. They revived him. Had he been revived straight away, had they got there in the first 10 minutes, his brain wouldn't have gone. That is the most evil, twisted thing you can do to anyone. It's twisted if you did it to someone you hated.
I can't agree more, mate.
And if you claimed you loved them, that is twisted. And that's what I have in my head of this. I didn't think she'd done it. It didn't cross my mind that she'd done it. I thought her dad had done it. He'd been making threats.
Yeah, at first, yeah.
And he was there, and I saw them. And in the February, Carl was very blasé. You know, he was very full of himself, full on. Couldn't knock the skin off a rice pudding, but he did. but he could tell you, because, you know, I'll do the crew, I'll do this and I'll do that. And a lot of it was front, bluff and bluster. Because if you got enough of that going on, people don't bother you because they think you might just be right.
Exactly.
And that was Kyle.
Yeah.
You know, he'd rather have a joint and chill out with somebody who pissed him off than turn around and knock the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how he was.
And it's a shame that there ain't enough of them people in this world, Keith, that would rather just chill with someone than actually fight them. Do you know what I mean? Because there'd be a lot less things going on.
But, you know, the way the world is, the world's a mess. It's totally fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Donald Trump looks like he's an intelligent person. That's how bad the fucking world is.
That's right.
But with the case of Kyle, what you saw is what you got.
Definitely.
What he felt, and when he tried to do something, it was like he had all the best bits that I never had. You know, and they were there. And when he said something, usually he'd rear up, or he'd calm down, or he'd laugh about it, and you had to pick through what he was saying to work out what he meant. But when he was on about this Darren, I was picking through that, and Kyle was frightened.
Yeah.
I'd gone through that, and when I saw the pictures and the photos, you see, I've seen these pictures, and in my head I've got 2 or 3 different versions in my head of how they happened, and the one involves him doing it. That's what I see. I don't know if it's true or if it's false. I don't know if I got the wrong end of the stick, because to be fair, I'd do shit like that if someone was hurting my daughter. I've done shit like that. You know, at the end of the day, somebody tries to hurt somebody who you love.
Yeah, you're going to protect your tribe, aren't you? You're going to protect them.
You got to go for it.
Yeah.
And if it's right in front of you, that's what you do. That's called being a bloke.
I guess we'll never know, Keith?
But we won't know whether... I know what I think. But I approached the police. I phoned the police, and I saw a story yesterday about a bloke who's going into an open prison who disguised himself, jumped out and attacked his girlfriend, stabbing her 19 times, and he's now being moved to an open prison early. And do you know what? She got told at the time, with all these things, as they all do, leave it with us, we'll keep an eye out. And the woman on the desk, they say she gets hundreds of things day in, day out with people doing this, that and the other. And she said, we're handling this. And within a month, Kyle was dead. because they didn't handle it. When the police turned up on the night, they didn't handle it. They didn't think. They just took her word for it. And these are the things that go around me. These are the things that drive me mental. He was so let down, but his death was down to his wife. And it was down to the fact, not to the fact that she killed him or injured him, to the fact she left him. That's something which
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unspeakable, isn't it, Keith? Now, whilst I appreciate, mate, that this podcast is about Kyle and Amy does not deserve any form of spotlight here.
Yeah.
She's absolutely a major contributor in the role of Kyle's passing and the very reason why the three of us are here today.
Yeah.
I know this is a sensitive topic, mate, but did you know Amy Pugh or have any kind of relationship with her before everything happened?
She turned up with the kids.
Okay.
You know, and they had kids together. Ella was Kyle's. Ella's now, she's lucky. She's actually got a second crack at everything. But he treated Ella as his own. His mum and dad. They gigged, they rapped, they did all sorts of things.
Yeah, there's that music video of the two of them in there on YouTube. Yeah, I remember that.
But
what was your first impressions of Amy when Kyle first introduced you to her all them years ago?
I didn't really have one. It's just one of those things. I thought the first question in my head was, because Kyle was a bad lad at one point and he went on holiday at Her Majesty's pleasure, and she was there when he came out. And that was the first I knew of her. Now, I didn't know how he knew her, where he knew her from, or anything about it, but it's his life, and he was living his life, and he found someone, and it was, she was treated as a daughter. That was how she was treated.
Which is initially how a family should be, I suppose. When my two daughters get, boyfriends and whatnot, and they become long term. Obviously, I'm not going to be that one that's you're just going to take them on as part of them, aren't you? You are going to do that. You're not going to have any reason not to.
No.
So, for the benefit of my listeners to this podcast who may not have listened to part one of this 2-part special, Amy Pugh was arrested on the 1st of April 2022 on suspicion of murder. She was charged with murder in November 2024. I hope I've got the dates right here, Keith. If I've got them wrong, tell me, all right?
No, you're right.
Then in June 2025, after a trial at Stafford Crown Court, a jury found her guilty of murder. Now, on the 5th of September 2025, she was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 14 years before eligibility for parole. Can you take us back to the day of the sentencing? Like, what went through your mind when you heard that judge deliver Amy's sentence?
Well, I'm going to go a bit further than that.
Go for it.
We sat through a trial, and throughout this trial, I watched a prosecutor and a defence counsel. The prosecutor had data, he had evidence, he had times, he had places, he had expert witnesses, he had all of this. Her defence had one thing, a made-up story she'd given to them. And with that story, he character assassinated every single person who took to that stand.
Wow.
Every single person. That's what he did. That was her defence. There's something which not many people know. I know it, my wife knows it, that was said, and I think it was the only time Amy Pugh ever told the truth in this entire affair. She put her arms around my wife and she said, "I'm so sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry." And I think that is probably the one and only time that she knew. She called me Pops. She called her Pauline Mum. Always had done since the first day she met us. Always had done. It's simple as that. We were her parents to a big point. But that was it. And her defence was, at her behest, character assassinating every single person who stood in that dock. Charlotte, bless her, at the end of her testimony, it was something special, because she wouldn't buckle under the weight of this bloke battering her. And right at the end, he turned round and he said, very cockily, because this is how he was, he said, "You just won't accept the fact that he killed himself, will you?"
Wow.
And she stood up and she said, "No, truth is, you won't accept the fact that he didn't."
Nice.
And that I was so proud of her for saying that in the court.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is.
So many people didn't see that because they were out in the back, with waiting to be witnesses, waiting to be called. And at the end of the trial, when they came back, I missed this because we'd been up there day after day after day, and on the third day of the summing up, we went across for a coffee in this little coffee shop down the corner, and I missed the call off Simon. It was he's been a rock for us, to be fair. He's put up with so much shit off me because I've rearranged the law. I've told him what's what, and he's there, but it's and I'm like,
good for you, Keith, good for you, mate.
But he phoned and we missed the actual verdict being read because we were rushing on our way back up to get there. We'd missed that. When it came to the actual sentencing, we went into the court in the morning. We were called into like this bloody weird shaped room, and we're all in there, and we were told what would happen. We were told what would actually happen, and that would be the defence would reiterate, and the prosecution would reiterate their case, and with that case the judge would then wait for the defence to reiterate their case. He says that won't take very long. It took him an hour.
Wow.
And prior to that, I wrote a witness impact statement, and it was powerful, and it mentioned her dad, so I wasn't allowed to use it because he's never been charged. I don't know how. I have no idea how, but he's never been charged. So you couldn't, so it's libelous or slanderous and whatever. But I'll still think what I think. Just not stupid enough to put it down on bloody... He could afford to prosecute me, I can't afford to defend myself. But, but he came down and he was summing all this up. And it took him an hour, and he went over the entire thing as though he was still defending her. Now, my witness statement, the one they did read, and the one Vicky wrote, which the judge read, and the one Kaylee wrote, which the judge read, they read them out the back. Our prosecutor cherry-picked bits because he didn't like the fact that it was. And I said, when Simon phoned me up after the first one, I said, whose fucking son's been killed, mine or his?
Yeah.
Who's supposed to be fucking impacting on me or him? And when he went over the statement at the end, she had already a 19-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. That might as well not. That court case need never have taken place because she got nothing for that. The woman's whose house it was, Lee, she's still got a garage without a fucking roof on it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. This is how justice doesn't work.
So when that sentence was given, then for you and your wife, was that a sense of relief, or was it just more pain?
To be honest, the fact that she's gone down, that was the fact that we were told the sentence would be reflected with mitigating and aggravating circumstances. For me, it was very disappointing because aggravating, they were a couple who had a toxic relationship. They would tear into each other, and she, in all honesty, I'll give her a due, she said we were one as bad as the other. So that was taken into account. The fact that she, instead of phoning for help, and the fact that the jury had come back with the option of manslaughter with a unanimous murder verdict, because they just knew what she'd done. Yeah. And the fact that she hadn't killed him with the blow that led to him becoming unconscious and unresponsive. He died of a brain injury because of the waiting. That's what killed him. That's where it's all wrong. And this prick stood there for an hour while the judge was listening to it, because I thought at the start that the judge was going to take, because you did this, I've taken all this into consideration and it outweighs the other. Instead, because the starting point is 15 years, she took 12 months off on the basis of a barrister repeating a pack of lies that he repeated through the trial.
Wow.
Which had nothing substantiated, any of it.
Wow.
Nothing.
Now, from what I'm aware, and forgive me if I don't have this completely correct, whilst Amy was inside on suspicion of playing a major role in Kyle's passing, as his wife, she had certain rights to when and how he was to be, I don't know, buried, cremated, rights to his body, right?
Yeah.
So situations like this, where a suspect retains legal rights connected to the victim, obviously it can be very difficult for the families. Can you share what the experience was like for you and your wife, knowing that?
Well, when she was actually in prison, she had no rights, and by the time she was in prison, we'd already had the funeral.
Right.
But we had 2.5 years where we couldn't do anything. Now, the first 2 years, we couldn't do anything because the police had Kyle's body cryogenically frozen. While they were doing their tests and experiments and waiting for results to come back and reports to come back, and there was like a chain of events of cock-ups in there. But while they were waiting for that, they had control of the body. Once they had finished and they had no further reason to hold him, he was released to the coroner.
Right.
And the coroner was forced by law to release him to next of kin. She remained next of kin even though she was the only person being investigated, because she hadn't been charged.
Wow.
And we have this thing of guilty, innocent until proven guilty. She legally and she used that. She claimed the body. The coroners told me, they phoned me a guy called Mel from the coroner's office. He does all the decisions. He phoned me and he said the only way that we cannot hand it over is if you have a legal challenge, which has to be put by a barrister before the coroner, and then he will say that you are intending to go and see a decision of a High Court judge in your favour.
And I'm sure all that costs a lot of money. This ain't free, is it? We're not talking free here.
This was, at the time, just shy of £4,000. £4,000 for an email to be sent. But with the coroner receiving the email, as Vicky would say at the time, she said, it's worth every penny to have blocked it. But we haven't got the pennies, and people rallied round. We all dug for whatever it was. My sister phoned me and saved the day. She's got her own little place down in Devon. And she was an angel, an absolute angel of mercy, because there was no way we was going to get this. And she managed to save the day. Vicky, Stewart, so everybody put in what they got, and it was whatever we got. It was enough to block it.
Yeah.
I remember sending some money and setting up a GoFundMe for
Yeah, there was a GoFundMe. There was Barry and Rob and everybody who knew him. That's the sort of guy he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say this, like the funeral, for example. Like there were so many different people talking about loads of different stories about how Kyle had touched their life, how he'd walked 45 minutes in the pissing down rain to go and help someone and all that kind of stuff. And like it's a sad state of affairs when you don't realise just how many lives you've touched until you pass away, until it's too late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. At the crime, there was so many.
I remember, mate.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Couldn't believe it. And I'm sure you was as his father. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to some funerals where there's only been a handful of people.
Yeah.
I was nervous as fuck being on that stage, mate.
Yeah, I bet,
That's one of the hardest things I ever done.
Yeah, I bet, Barry. I bet, mate. So we'll go into this then. So, Keith and Barry, you're here today to first and foremostly honour the life of a very special lad, like I said, that would literally walk to the end of the earth to help someone in need, but to also discuss a very important law that you both are quite passionate about bringing into play since the passing of Kyle. And I fully support this, and I hope all of my listeners get behind this one as well, because it could stop another family like Keith's going through further heartache and stress. These questions going forward, they're related to both of you, so feel free to kind of pass the mic left and right, or just put it in the middle. It's all good. Can you explain the law that you're advocating for in simple terms and why it's needed?
I'll call it Kyle's law because that's why I want to do it. But it's to put the parents on a level par with a spouse when it comes down to a child passing. That seems fair to me, because the child has chosen their spouse. That's who they want to be with their life. He wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the parents. They've known him since the second he was conceived, to the born, to all of that. And when something like this occurs, and it'll work on two-way levels, they'd both be on an equal footing, which would say that if the parent was the suspect, they couldn't interfere. If the spouse was the suspect, they couldn't interfere with the process until they'd been cleared.
So let me get this clear then, Keith. Is this law only applicable if the spouse is like in suspicion of playing a role?
Whoever's in suspicion.
This isn't just generically as in the parents should have a right as much as the spouse, even if nothing has happened, as in suspicious circumstances. Okay, right, just to get that clear with the listeners, really.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that, how common is this issue now, Keith and Barry, and why do you think that it's largely gone unaddressed and unnoticed until now?
COVID
did a lot of things, didn't it? It hid a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things were masked.
Now, to be fair, a lot of things got behind, so the due process that could have been done quicker, which caused all the hold-ups and all the things. But there have been cases in Telford where, as there's people have been suspected of doing things, and some have ended up charged, some haven't, some didn't. But the person who has committed a crime should never have the opportunity. I went with this woman and arranged Kyle's funeral. She was in charge of it, and she had killed him. And if the police hadn't stepped in when they did, and that was through us pressuring them, Vicky had sent emails, I went to the police station, we kept on at the police. If we hadn't done that, I think it would have been overlooked, because the hospital didn't say this is suspicious. Nobody said it was suspicious. I went with her to arrange my son's funeral, her husband's funeral, and she knew all along what had happened. Once cremated, there's nothing to go on.
So,
absolutely.
Am I right in saying that I don't know this for a fact, but was she pushing for like a quick cremation?
She wasn't pushing for a quick one.
Okay.
Set a date. There was a reason for that, and that was the 10/4. What they got, 420? Yeah, 420.
Of course.
Said it was a very important date to Kyle.
Absolutely, it was.
So even that wasn't suspicious.
No.
But by behaving unsuspiciously, she was in a better position to get rid of the evidence than was it. And on the 1st of April she was arrested, which was before the funeral would have taken place, mainly on the strength of an incredible police officer. His name's John. He's moved. John Taylor, he's moved. He's a fantastic detective. And he sifted through absolutely everything. He put the entire thing together. He said he phoned me within 20 minutes to an hour of me going into the police station and showing them the threats on the phone. He said, this is a murder inquiry. I'm telling you that now. And he made it a murder immediately.
What a legend that he did that, you know. What a legend that he did that.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you must be very thankful to that guy.
That is one guy, if I meet him in a pub, he's not going to walk out.
Yeah. Love that. How do you respond to people who, because you know there's always people on different sides of the fence, Keith, you know, not everyone's going to roll with you yourself. How do you respond to people who might say that it's totally natural for a spouse to be involved in a burial or a cremation decisions regardless of suspicion?
It depends.
Why does it depend?
It depends on how involved.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're one of a group that you may or may not, if there is no tangible evidence, if somebody just said, oh, she did that, yeah, I could understand that. Well, we've had a look and there's nothing. But if there's enough that the police say it merits much deeper research, and the only reason that we can't charge is we're waiting for this, that and the other. I think the biggest problem is the CPS. The CPS demand, and I don't think it's down to the CPS, I think it's down to the governments, that there is such a thing of we will not go to court unless we are positive we're going to win. And so many injustices happen because people fall through the cracks because the CPS, you know, I'll be quite honest, our father with a 3-minute phone call, a 6-minute video call on the night prior to the ambulance being called, that to my mind is suspicious enough. And the 2 messages that were sent in the fortnight following the incident, will I be alright, Daddy, is engraved on my heart. And his response, as long as you do what I told. How the CPS could not want to put those 3 things together and make a court case is beyond me, beyond everybody.
Yeah. What would you say to families that might go through a similar circumstances in the future? I mean, hopefully you can get this all up and running and families won't go through it, but of course while that process is happening, which is it's not going to happen overnight, Keith, let's face it, there's still going to be families going through this, isn't there?
Yeah, don't be afraid to not have a go. Yeah, we have what they call a liaison officer and support things and this, that and the other, and to be fair, he's been a sounding board because we totally disagree on so many things because he's defending his police force. That's his job. You know, and he's got to believe what he's doing. But even he's turned around and said these changes in the law. Ultimately, I had a chat with Simon the other day. He came around with some of with Carl's laptop and with the lock of his hair and his trainers and what have you, and his builder's card. But he came around, well, we had a chat, and he said, you're absolutely right, that this needs changing, even if it's just to the point where you can empower a coroner to say no. You know, it doesn't have to go to a high court, to a judge to make a decision. The coroner can turn around and say, I wish to speak to all the parties, that is the police, the suspect, parents, or if it's the other way around, the police, the parents, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We reject the spouse and the parent suspects.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter who.
No.
It's just the fact that the law needs changing so nobody is in a position to be able to dispose of the evidence.
Yeah.
And in the chain of command, it doesn't happen so much when somebody's older, but when it's a son or a daughter and the parents are still alive, the kids of that person, if they're aged 20, if they're aged below 30, their children who get higher up in the scale, they have full blood. It needs a just change in the order.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need the parents to be higher up than the spouse, just on a level playing field. So if they say, we're challenging this.
Absolutely, yeah.
It can be done.
Yeah.
And it could be affordable.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing, isn't it? That's the
important thing.
Yeah.
I think really, if you're suspicions of murder, you should have your rights paused until after the trial.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because of everything going on, and it's unfair. If you're suspicions of murder, you should have your rights paused until you have obviously let free or you're down, and then obviously it goes to the next of kin from there. But I think it's just wrong how the system is.
Definitely.
That's why it needs changing.
Yeah. So finally then, on the section of the fight for Kyle's law, I want you both to look forward to the future and to think of this as in the law has passed. What difference do you hope that Kyle's law will make for future families?
I think it'd be better for future families not to go through the same drama that Keith's family's gone through, and his friends, and they don't have to fork out loads of money, especially for how it is. Really, it should be paused until after. Do you know what I mean? It's like trying to do a quick cremation on your spouse. It's just wrong, and other families shouldn't go through that same pain and drama.
Now, beyond passing that law, are there any other changes that you hope to see in how these cases are handled?
To be honest, it's such a dramatic change. Having watched and heard and been unsure as to how the verdict was going to go at the end of the trial, and it always was touch and go, because a jury can be swayed, and it only takes one or two people to go, and then and you don't get to the right conclusion. I think that the onus should be equal in a trial as to if the defence cannot turn up with physical evidence to prove that they couldn't have done it. You should not be able to defend a prosecution case on, well, I said this and I heard that and I did this and I did that, and I just felt that at the end of that it's theatre, and it's whoever speaks best is likely to win. You shouldn't be able to influence things by tainting the jury.
Nah, that's a sad state of affairs when it comes to stuff like that, mate. Yeah. It shouldn't be like that at all. No. Now, a question for you then, Keith. Like, what keeps you motivated to continue this fight despite the emotional and the legal challenges that you might have to face?
Because Kyle would have done it.
Of course, yeah. That's a great answer. Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's what Kyle would have done. He saw it was wrong. He tried and put it right. I'd like to think that one of the few things he got off me and his mum is the fact that right's right, wrong's wrong. If you've done it, own up, put your hands up, pay the price for it. If you didn't, defend yourself and don't change your mind. Yeah. And it needs doing. Get it done.
Yeah. Great answer, Keith. Great answer, mate. Now, moving on from the law itself, and I really do wish you all the best, the both of you, in Kyle's honour and memory. It's great that it's in the hands of two chaps with love and motivation to turn something negative into a positive. So this really is amazing where you're trying to take it. From posts that I've seen on your socials, I know that you're actually a poet and an author, which you mentioned obviously at the start of the podcast. And from one rhyming word person to another, genuinely I think that they are very good, Keith. Very, very good. But you don't need me to tell you that, I'm sure. Do you find that poems give you like an escapism or a way of expressing where you would normally struggle to find the words?
I started writing as a kid as a way of dealing with anger. That was what I'd do. The first poem I ever wrote was a knack.
A knack?
It's just a knack. I was told to write a poem in school, and this thing just poured out of me, and the teacher said, "Where'd you copy that from?" And that was how that was. But that's just something I do.
Yeah.
But some people say it's a talent. It's not. It's an act. It's just you see something, you do something.
Mm-hmm. Have you found that you're almost writing more intensively since Kyle's passing, or do you often not really pick up a pen no more?
No, well, I don't pick up a pen ever. I do it all on the phone.
Okay, yeah.
It's just easier, and spell check helps.
When you sit down to write a poem, do you feel like you're discovering something that's already inside you, or are you creating something entirely new in the act of writing?
It all depends on how I'm feeling.
Get you.
I've got my classic poem, The Devil's Visit. And you would think that I smoked weed and took drugs and all that, and I've never have. I've always been terrified of them. I wrote another one called The Pacifist, which is about how somebody who's... Shall I give you The Pacifist? It's only 2 verses.
Go for it, come on.
2 verses of The Pacifist are: I've never fired a rifle nor sent the killer shot. I did not run away or try to hide. I've never used a bayonet nor thrown a hand grenade, but often held a hand, spirit died. I've walked amid the ruins, the broken body parts, bandaged up and sutured many men. I'm a medic, not a killer, proud to play my part, and yes, if asked, I'd do it all again. But I'm not a pacifist.
Love that, Keith. Love that.
Well, I'm not a pacifist.
Yeah.
But I can throw myself into that situation.
Yeah. Do you feel that you write your poetry more for yourself to process your own emotions, or do you hope to evoke like a certain feeling in your readers?
I write to get it out of me.
Yeah, that's the same with me, with my stuff that I do.
It's better than fighting, it's better than ranting, it's better than shouting. And it's somebody likes them, that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm told obviously that you've had a book out now. That's something to own. No. I know you played it down a lot at the start and said, well, it was just Kyle did most of it and all that, but how many have you had now? Is it just the one, or?
I got 12
books published, come on. That's something to be proud of.
It's all self-published. It's with Amazon.
Doesn't matter at all, the fact that they're published in the first place.
Well, I had 2 acceptance letters out of the 3 people I sent them off to.
This is Nicky Blackmarket. You're in tune to the Dribbz Talks podcast. Keep it locked.
Right, Barry, I'm going to pass this on to you then, mate, because I want to talk to you a little bit about what you've been up to. Now, you've been running your own music events called the Fringe Lounge for how many years now, would you say? Has it been just a couple of years, or?
So I probably started 2023, the end of 2023, I think.
Okay, all right. So now these Fringe Lounge parties, to me, they've been the perfect place for everyone and anyone that thought the world of Kyle to come and have a great night, share some stories about how he impacted their lives. What did it mean for you to have taken these parties from an idea to a series of events with like-minded artists?
Well, I can go back a little bit. So
go for it.
I started doing a few house parties at home under the Fringe Lounge just to bring loads of his old friends back together and have a few drinks and have the memories of Kyle, to a point where why didn't I reach out and do it bigger and go to the local pub where he used to go to the Weekend View, start doing a couple there. And then I thought I could do something good with this Fringe Lounge stuff and reach out to other people who's gone through domestic violence and domestic abuse, instead of like just having a get together for him. Why don't we make a bad situation into something good out of it? So we started expanding and then went to a nightclub and started doing it there. So I've had 3 or 4 events now, but I'm thinking bigger next year, something different away from music.
Yeah, this is what you were saying to me, like prior to this evening's podcast. You'd mentioned that you were looking to move the emphasis of spreading the awareness from music into other channels, and this is where your 3-peat challenge comes into conversation. Now, on the 10th of May 2026, a team of you guys have decided to take on the Free Peaks Challenge to raise awareness for domestic abuse. Your aim is for all funds raised to be donated to the Mankind charity, and all of this within 24 hours, might I add. Now, for those that may not know, can you explain what the Free Peaks Challenge involves and why it's such a tough goal to complete within 24 hours, please?
Right, so basically doing one mountain on its own is a challenge in itself. Doing Snowdon is a challenge in itself. Doing Ben Nevis and then Scaffold Pike. What I want to do is do all three within 24 hours. So we're going to start up in Scotland near Ben Nevis, start 6 o'clock in the morning. I think the time of travelling is about 8 hours. So then we need to get up and down every other mountain within that 24 hours mark. And I think it would be a good achievement. And it would be something proud, because I know Carl will be proud of us doing it. And it's just to reach out, because not everyone listens to music, not everyone listens to rave music, and I want to reach out to different people and more people, and I think doing something like that will reach out to a lot more people than doing the music events.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Definitely. Now, how do you think Kyle's story influenced your decision to raise awareness around men's mental health and domestic abuse?
Because it's not really spoken about in men. Definitely not spoken about in men. I mean, it is there, but when does men reach out? Is it because of the pride? They're scared to say that they've been abused by a woman. It's just, you're not alone, and that says it to all men. If you're going through it, speak out, because you don't want to go down the same path what's happened to Kyle.
I mean, am I right in saying, I could be wrong here, Baz, but am I right in saying that, like, you guys are quite grateful that he did speak out, because he did mention to you guys about some of the stuff he was going through?
No, he did speak out, but it probably didn't become to be enough, did it?
No. So what message then, Baz, do you hope that people take away when they hear about Kyle and this fundraiser? That
speak out before it could be too late for you. You don't deserve to go through that, what he's gone through, and his family and his friends. You know, you need to speak out and get out of the way from that situation that you're in.
Definitely.
Too many people out there, way too many people out there who it's happened to.
Yeah.
Who I saw something the other day on the telly, and this bloke, he was battered black and blue. He was stabbed. He had scalding water thrown at him. He'd done all these things, and because he didn't turn round and fight back, he didn't turn round and pick up something and put it through her head. And at the end of the day, the way that's viewed, if he had, and somebody had known what had gone on before, it would have been looked at one way. But generally speaking, if a man raises a hand to a woman, it's looked at as something else, but it's allowed to go the other way.
There's men who has reached out and the police have laughed at it, or they've turned a blind eye to it. That also needs to change as well. I think if considering women always want to have equal rights, why can't men have them equal rights as well when it comes to that type of stuff as well?
Definitely, Baz. Now, obviously, as you know, many men find it hard to reach out for help.
100%.
What do you think are some of the barriers, and how can we break them barriers down?
I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm going to do. Like, and if people see it and see they're not on their own, hopefully they'll, have the strength to reach out and get that help.
Yeah, I think you guys have kind of put the nail on the head there with talking about how, women are treated completely different to men when it comes to the domestic violence, and that, maybe having the fact of them all being treated equal regardless of sex. Do you know what I mean? That's a barrier.
And I'm not just doing this just for men. I know women go through it as well, so it is out to them as well.
Yeah,
for you not to go through it with a man, but it's it swings both ways, and we should all have equal rights. Just because we're a man shouldn't be pushed upon or laughed upon, and it's wrong how the world is, really.
Yeah, I agree, mate.
It could be all day.
Little statement that years ago when I was at work, I'd given up smoking and I'd got drunk, and my missus had the last fag. And this is a classic case of I had a mate there called Stuart. And I'd gone for the fag, and she'd broke my cheekbone because she said, "You're not having it," boom, bang. She didn't set out to beat me up. He just got caught, and I've gone to work with a black eye and a big lump in my face. I've gone to work, and somebody said, "Oh, bloody woman beat you up, did they? Woman beat you up." That was the general attitude of the canter.
Yeah.
But Stuart stood up, and he says, "I suppose you'd rather see her with a black eye," and just left it at that. And nobody could say anything.
No.
Because that's the way it's viewed. But it's not. It was, she didn't, "I'm going to give you a black eye." She just caught me.
Yeah.
And that was what it was. But
Yeah.
the fact that there's a black eye, I must be a wimp because she could do that to me. Or I'd have been an evil bastard if I'd have done it to her.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah.
You've got to break down those barriers and say, it's neither of them.
100%, Keith.
Neither of
100%. How do you both believe that my listeners can support friends, colleagues, or family members who might be struggling but aren't speaking up?
I mean, if you see it, or like, I don't know, really, I don't know how to say it.
I think you're right. Like, be aware of the signs.
Be aware if you can see someone different around you, or struggling, or see marks, or feel more upset. Mental health playing on there, because that could be a big part of it as well.
Definitely.
I mean, go speak to that person and see if they're struggling, and show support, and tell them there is support out there to speak up. So
no, I totally agree with you, mate. So I was researching some statistics last night on domestic abuse within men, and there's a few here that I think the listeners to the podcast is quite important for them to hear. So around 712,000 men in England and Wales experienced domestic abuse in the year ending March 2025, which is roughly 3% of all men. Over their lifetime, an estimated 1 in 5 have experienced domestic abuse since the age of 16. Only around 1 in 5 male victims ever tell the police. So that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that's exactly what you guys are saying here, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Only 1 in 5 actually speak up and tell the police. However,
probably because they've seen it, and they've seen that other men are being laughed at. So maybe that is another reason why not to speak up about
exactly,
it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. However, though, so that was 2025. However, in 2024, only 4.7% of victims were men that were supported by local domestic abuse services. So that truly shows how underserved they are in support systems. Only 4.7% of victims.
I think that's why I want to help this charity called Mankind, because they're only a small charity, but they're specific to help men, and what they're doing is incredible. So if we can show support and raise funds to expand their business, it's a no-brainer. If it can help more men, then it's a great thing to do.
100%. Now, moving on to the last part of the show, and this is a time for reflection in yourselves. I want to know that if you perceive life a little different, and what did you learn for yourself since Kyle's passing? Is there things that you look at differently now in life since Kyle's left? And that's for the both of you, really.
My world's changed. I'm not who I was. I used to be the bloke, the life and soul of the party in the pub. I was on the karaoke, that was my bit. I'm the king of the swingers, so jungle, be happy. And that was me, night out. I played pool. I go into a pub now, and I don't go in very often. I don't feel like I should be there anymore. I don't think it's right that I can't have a beer with my boy and he can't walk through the door. I played pool with him. I'm a good pool player. I wasn't today, and Kyle wasn't, and he was convinced he was, and he was and he was, I'm going to thrash it, bury him every time. But that'll never happen again. He'll never have the time to cop hold of my cue and go, I can do that. How'd you do that? Or things like that. Just daft things.
Yeah.
And I go into a pub and I do one or two things. I have a beer and leave, or I get wasted. And I climb inside a bottle and I don't want to come back out of it. That's what's... I had the same with my other son, Andrew. Took his own life, and that's another case of the mental health thing and things that are there. I don't think he meant to. I think he always thought somebody would come round and find him. It'll be all right and you'll get what you want, and that'll work. But this is different. Andrew had that much... As much as I hate what happened, as much as it cracked me up, he took his own life. Somebody else didn't do it for him. That's where, to me, there's no difference. I've got 2 gravestones I visit, and it's, and they were both firstborn sons with wives, and that is something which...
I often think, Keith, sorry to interrupt you there, but I often think, like, we're not kind of programmed to deal with this, Keith. Like we should go before our children.
Yes,
our children should not go before us. I think as humans we're not programmed to deal with this, mate.
We're not.
Do you know what I mean? It's not how it should work.
It's bad enough when it's an accident. Somebody gets hit by a car or in a car crash, or that's tragic. But once the world around them has had an influence, there's something wrong with the world around you. Just a thought just crossed my mind while you were doing the summing up on the last bit, and I think this is an important point. It's
Go
not
for
made.
it.
Down in Donington, there's a woman's refuge. There's one in Madeley. They're scattered all over the place. I couldn't give you a clue whether there's a man's refuge.
No, that's a very good point.
I don't think they exist. I don't think people feel the need that they should exist.
That is a very good point, mate.
I honestly can't think.
I mean, there may be,
anyway.
But between the 3 of us, I can't think of a single one. However, I can tell you about a few of the refuges. You're right there. Yeah, that is a cracking point, mate. And that is a really, really good point to make, to be fair. Now, grief, Keith, obviously can come in so many different forms: anger, sadness, numbness, confusion. What has the journey looked like for you and your wife personally and individually?
Individually, personally, we're both in a limbo. Pauline, Carl was her. She thought the world of him, he thought the world of her. She thinks the world of all the kids, but Carl's always seemed to have
blue-eyed boy, right?
An extra twinkle, the blue-eyed boy. He was a charmer. Yeah,
it certainly was. Though sometimes people say that after a tragedy, time heals. Has that been true for you, or has it been more about learning to live with the pain in a different way?
You on me or you on Keith?
Both of you, come on, both of you. I'm interested to know both of your outlets on this one.
Nice. Maybe a little bit of both. It's still weird that he's not here, to be fair. It's still not the same. And I think now, after all the court and that, it seems a little bit of relief that we got a little bit of justice. It might not be the best, but it's something, and it's been a long-winded process to get here, as well as finally having a burial for him as well, which is we've also been waiting for. So
it's a long time coming, that 1 minute.
Yeah, it's been a bit of relief because now he's at peace, which is a good thing, and hopefully, I just hope he's proud of us, what we managed to do for him, and get to the stage where we finally got a little bit of justice for him.
Has the tragedy changed the way that you both look at men's mental health, or the importance of speaking up when someone feels wrong?
I think it just shows that it is more out there than what you think it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think
the saddest thing with mental health is there are people out there who've got genuine problems. And there are people out there who use it so that they don't have to go to work, so that they don't have to do certain things, and they say, oh, I've got anxiety, I've got this, so is the rest of the world. We've all got anxiety. I just had 2 weeks without no income, with no job, because I told a story to a customer in a taxi. It was so wet they wouldn't fit into a cup. You know, they're just absolutely pathetic. And because of, and all I've had about this is, well, you can't say things like that. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Why can't the real world be the fucking real world?
Yeah.
Because we're living a lie. The people who we fucking go out with our kids.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's too much time. Actually, I'm starting to think that people have got a real reason to be fucking paranoid and have fucking mental health, because the world's fucking crazy.
I think it's a generation thing as well, to be honest with you, Keith. Do you know what I mean? Like these young uns that are growing up now, there's a lot of woke, there's a lot of, you can't say this, you can't say that, you must say about the pronouns. What's that? Sorry?
Social media.
Yeah, social media has a big influence on that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas obviously yourself, Keith, and even me at bloody 37 years of age, I don't come from a time when people did have pronouns. Do you know what I mean? What's that, mate?
Nothing wrong with being 37.
Nah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, I bet you can still keep up with the young'uns, mate. Come on. How does it feel for you then, Keith, to know that Kyle's story, as painful as it is and as graphical as it is in your mind, might actually be saving, or hoping to eventually save the lives by raising awareness for others?
I just hope that that something good comes out of it, something that he can be remembered for as the good person he was.
This is what I want to do, and this is the whole point of like the podcast. I know obviously Barry and yourself kind of approached me, not me reaching out to you, but this is everything about it. Like if one person, because I've got a good reach with these podcasts now, and if one person can sit there and go, do you know what, I'm getting this at home and I don't really want to mention about it, but because of, you know, listening to this podcast, listening to everything you guys are talking about, you know, I'm going to go and get help. That's job done, really, Keith. Do you know what I mean? If one person,
even if it was one person, it's
this is it.
It's a win.
Yeah.
One thing that every single person needs to know, and it's what, and I've not been in this situation. So I'm not talking directly. I've never been a woman beater, I've never been a battered husband or battered boyfriend or whatever. But you need to know one thing, and this is probably the most important lesson you'll ever hear in your life. I'm good at this shit.
Go for it.
It can escalate. Everything can escalate.
I agree.
And when it starts to escalate and it starts to spiral, you have no control over what happens.
Yeah.
You deal with the aftermath.
Yeah. And it's very easy for like the outsiders to go, oh, that's a volatile relationship, why are they even still together? When you look deeply into it, and I've done a bit of research about this, like with like a bit of psychology and stuff, like there's a thing called a trauma bond, Keith.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that? Where a couple has been through such a
You can't live with each other, you can't live without each other.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah. So from the outsiders, they go like the outsiders.
Yeah.
You get the. See, I'm going to say it again, the men that knocking the women around. Well, obviously, there can be the other way around. But and then they go, well, why hasn't the woman just left them? It'd be much easier if they just leave them. But sometimes it's all they know, and they can't live with each other, and they can't live without them.
Yeah. And you can't help who you fall in love with.
Thank you. Yeah, that is exactly it.
You throw other shit into the mix.
Yeah.
And that's what I say.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the situation is.
Yeah.
It can escalate.
It can.
Yeah.
So moving forward then, Keith, from the heartache that you've all been through, what does healing look like for you now? Is it about remembrance, helping others, or just living in a way that Kyle would be proud of?
Doesn't exist. For me, it doesn't.
So there's no healing for you?
It's, you don't move on, you move forward, you inch forward. For me, until I can sit down without being full of this fucking crap, citrulline, fucking sertraline, whatever it is that represses your emotions, well, I can sit down without that. I spent 3 years, I couldn't even bear to hear his voice. I couldn't do that. I couldn't watch the videos. I couldn't do anything. That's about the only thing that I've got out of this now, is if a video comes up, I can see it.
That's progress, mate.
That's a bit of progress.
I mean, thank the Lord that Kyle was very, very social media presence.
Of course.
So that guy has got some crazy videos out there.
But then some prick will put up something with just that picture of her looking like Rose West. And, you know, I put a post up the other day about that Axel Wankstein who murdered them 3 little girls.
Yeah.
And I said, why the fuck is people still putting pictures of this prick?
Just giving him glory, isn't it?
To make stories, what's it? Because I feel a knife go through my heart every time I see her picture on there.
I bet.
That hurts.
I bet.
What the hell are they going through with those 3 little girls? What are all those other 8 little girls who were stabbed and that 2 adults trying to fight him and get him down? You know, we don't hear nothing about them. They said, what's it? There was a little clip about the woman who was released from hospital, had to go back because everything went mental.
Yeah.
And all of this.
And that's why I want to do these podcasts, really, Keith, because it's like, I don't want people, when they think of Kyle, to think of his demise.
No.
I don't. And I'm sure you're exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, that's that chap that his missus, his wife ends up killing him. That shouldn't be what Kyle is remembered for.
No.
It was a fucking tragic circumstance, don't get me wrong, and everyone is livid and will live with that anger, but he needs to be celebrated for the person that he was and not his demise, in my opinion.
He was a special lunatic.
It's fucking something, right?
Lovable rogue, wasn't he?
It was something.
There was a little thing I picked up, because I'm not Keith Pugh. I'm Kyle's dad. That's where I'm known. But that's not since this happened.
Yeah.
This has been for years.
Throughout, yeah.
And I was picking up a bunch of lads. I'm a taxi driver. I was picking up a bunch of lads from what's it, and they says, somebody saw me badge with my name. Said, do you know Kyle Pugh? And I says, yeah, I know Kyle. How'd you know him? I said, I'm his dad. Oh, what's it? He says, he's MC. I said, what's that stand for? Mouthy cunt. They dissolved. They did exactly that. Dissolved.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Mouthy cunt.
See,
MC.
I'm an MC.
I have no idea what MC.
I'm an MC as well, Keith. So I think I've got a new title here, mate. I'm thinking that's a good one. That is. That is a good one. That is. I like that. Are there any specific signs or songs or memories that make you feel like Kyle is still around you in some way, Keith?
Yeah, but it's not your sort of music.
Don't matter. That makes nothing.
When he did it the one day, a couple of things. Christy Berg, Patricia the Stripper, Kyle loved that. Sang that all day. And with a swing of hips, that. And the one song which really, what's it? And he come down, he just turned around and he says, what the fuck is this? That's banging. It's Come On Feel the Noise by Slade.
All right, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you think you got it, and I tell you.
And he loved that one, did he?
Yeah, and he just, what the fuck is that? And he just got into the car. I just got fucking Slade's Greatest Hits on the CD in the car, and it was just, you get things like that, and you don't even think about it.
No.
But just whenever that song comes on the radio,
yeah.
I could see him smile and go, yeah.
Love that. He was a massive Machine Gun Kelly fan as well, wasn't he? He was.
Whoever he is, don't ask me.
Do you know what? I don't know a few of his songs, but he did come on the radio the other day, and it made me kind of think of Kyle because I knew how mad he was for him. All right, so finally, then, as we look to bring this podcast to a complete close. And this is for both of you, just to kind of end it now. What do you both want people listening right now, if they listen to the podcast, what do you hope that they take away from this conversation about life, love and loss? I suppose with yourself, Baz, it's like, you've kind of answered this in a previous question, haven't you, mate? And that's that
you're not alone.
People need to be talking more, and you're not alone for sure.
Don't bite it all up on your own. Just speak out. Even if you feel your pride is destroyed, it's better to speak out and live the life that you're in.
Yeah. And that's talking from experience for these guys, man. You know, this isn't just something they've put together and just wrote for the sake of it. And it's a shame that you guys have to have this experience to be advocating for this, but such is life, you know. But, you know...
Am I allowed to mention what's happening in 2 weeks?
2 weeks' time? I think you should definitely go for that, yeah, and we'll revisit the question in a minute.
So, in 2 weeks' time, on the 26th, me and Keith will be on the BBC Midlands Today to talk about Kyle's Law. So make sure you keep an eye on that week and keep tuned in. If you go onto the Facebook for the Fringe Lounge and keep an eye on there, you will see what day we'll be on. Thank you.
I love that the news are getting behind that. You know? That's really good.
For the BBC to help us out and to see that a change does need to happen, and it's not just an idea, it's something we want to do. And I've also been in touch with Sean Davis, the MP of Telford, and I'm waiting for a reply back him to see if he'd be happy to come on board and see if we can get it further up the chain to the point where things can change.
Yeah.
So it is great for the BBC to film me and Keith, and also in April next year I'll also be on the BBC again to talk about the Three Peaks Challenge we'll have in May. Amazing. So things are actively happening, you know, this isn't just an idle conversation, things are actively happening. So let's go back to that original question then, Keith. How have you found this conversation?
Cathartic. It's
probably take a lot out of you tonight, mate, to be fair.
To be fair, I've seen so many things and fallen out and so many rants, so many raves, because so many people got so many opinions, and I've sort of just, I'll shout when I'm angry and let it out that way, and they just say, I don't give a fuck what you think, but I do. I really do care what I care what my kids think. I care how they look at how I am and what's happened and how I've dealt with things. And I don't always get it right. Parents don't.
No.
You know, we're all on the same fucking train. It doesn't mean we've got the same place.
Yeah, no, it's right. It's right.
You know,
and there's that common phrase with being a dad that there's no a parent in general. There's no handbook, is there, Keith? No one tells us exactly how to do it. We kind of have to just wing it, don't we, and just hope for the best. You know.
I've tried to do the opposite of what my parents did with me.
Yeah.
That's what I've tried to do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Doesn't mean I got it right or I got it wrong, but my kids have all made their own decisions, made their own. They've played their own furrows.
Yeah.
They've all got their own things they're good at. And they seem to have passed that on with the grandkids. They've picked and chosen, worked out where they're going.
Yeah.
It's not a dress rehearsal.
No.
But there's no fucking script to follow.
No, 100%. 100%.
You've got to. All I say is, you're not the only person going through whatever you're going through. There's some fucker out there who's got it just as bad.
Yeah, definitely.
And with the age of social media, if you write "I've had enough" on Facebook and put it as a post, somebody will answer you. Somebody will. I'll guarantee you that.
That's very true. Yeah.
They might take the piss.
No.
They might don't, but somebody will care.
Yeah.
So when something's bothering you, talk to the people you fucking know and say,
definitely,
I've had enough.
Yeah, sterling advice there, mate.
I should be a fucking counsellor.
I'll tell you what, that was spot on. That. Well, you should be in my bloody space doing the podcast.
I'm his manager, mate.
Hey, is that what it is, Baz? Yeah, is that what it is? Now, what you've both shared today is incredibly powerful, not just as a story of loss, but as a message of strength, love, and the importance of speaking out. Kyle's memory will continue to live on through everything that you're doing, especially through the law that you're fighting to bring into play. Thank you both for trusting me, for choosing this platform to share your story. It's been a privilege to listen, to learn, and to help keep Kyle's legacy alive. Now, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this platform. Keep sharing out the content. You lot supporting results in me giving you the best opportunities to talk to a range of guests with a whole host of deep, meaningful stories. Thank you so much to all my listeners for sticking with me. I took a short break to regenerate and recharge myself, but now I'm pleased to say that I'm fully back on it, and I'm already looking forward to the next guest to jump in the hot seat. Take care, guys, and keep it locked. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dribbz Talks podcast. We're bringing it to you real, raw, and uncut. A safe place where we can talk about anything and everything. So like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, keep it locked. Everything's gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Just take one step at a time. That's what the leaflets say.